in here, so I got the backup, and there goes the encoder. So we got that, and you are good to go.
Buck. Welcome to another episode of the High Vibe Guys. I was about to do the intro with like the number episode. I don't even know what episode it is anymore. Is it 15? Is it 13 or 15? Anyway, it's a lot.
It's got to be 15.
It's 15?
It's got to be 15. It's got to be 15.
15 feels like a very official number.
What?
So, welcome to the episode. It's your boy Booz doing my best Angela Yee impersonation with a smoothie on deck today. It's your boy Asa, the Scholar, Nori, long, wavy lock, pretty green eye, take your babe. He got a babe. Scholar, I said it already. Asa babe in the building. And then we got the father of Luna. Throwing up gang signs. That's inappropriate, bro.
Throwing gang signs. I got like 4 kids, man. What's wrong with you?
Well, Luna's my godchild, so guess which one gets the shout out right now? Right?
Oh my God. Asia, Elijah, Nyla, all with the.
Your babies ain't listening to this podcast yet anyway. They're gonna be 10 years before they even dip into this.
You don't even know. My son listens.
Oh man. Elijah.
Yes, sir.
And your daddy. Not your you're not being your goddad, okay? That's what I'm saying.
Yes, bro. What's cracking, y'all?
Man, it's good to be back on the show, y'all. How y'all feeling?
I'm great, man.
I'm good right now, bro.
Protect the black woman at all costs. You hear what I say?
By any means necessary.
And make the hood healthy again. What up, Rafa?
Yes, sir.
No such thing as a shameless plug with that.
Well, you got to do more than that because I say 95% of our listeners are listening. So what Akil is pointing out is a Make the Hood Healthy Again hat, which also can be accompanied by a Make the Hood. He has a pen. And then he also has a Make the Hood Great sign. You can receive all these from Raphael Wright. If you go on IG, his IG is Rafa.
Pharaoh. It was Pharaoh Rafa.
Three different ones. So Pharaoh, Rafa, which is Faira. Make the great again.
Fairo. Yep. It's Fairo at Rafa.
At Rafa.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Or excuse me. We jacking it all up. It's Fairo _ RAFA. That's his personal one. And then he got Make the Hood Great Again. And the third one is the Neighborhood Grocery.
So those are all IG pages too, right?
Yes, sir.
And you can receive those products via the IGZ. Great cause to support, especially if you live in Detroit, a real cause to support. Man, y'all ready for that topic? Y'all ready to jump into the show?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. So the climate of the world, y'all, you know, like we live in Detroit. We had the Detroit riots in 1968, and currently the world is rioting. You know what I mean? Based off the actions of a police officer in Minnesota, killing a black man by the name of George Floyd. Our show is gonna be based around this too. But, you know, I want to get the high vibes perspective before we're going into the show with it. Asa, Akil, what are you thinking? What are you feeling, bro?
Go ahead, Asa, babe.
A lot of stuff, definitely. But for right now, what I want to insert is clarity. So there are a lot of different so-called racists. So-called racist, ES, not ISTS. There are a lot of different, groups of people who get offended when we step up and say something like Black Lives Matter or whatever phrases, are popular nowadays. The point is that everything vibrates. All of us are human. It's no longer about what color you look like. I mean, apparently something is going on, but essentially as far as the universe is concerned, the message is like, look, forget all of that. It's black people who acting like devils. It's white people who acting like devils. It's Arab people who acting like devils. Forget all of that. Right now, it's time to transform and focus on the high vibrations. And anybody from any color or any pigmentation can do that. So that's the name of the game right now. At the end of the day, that's the underlying tone that the universe is trying to lay down. We need righteousness on the planet. We need love increased all over the planet. And we need each other like we need air right now, man. We need to put these guards down, and we just need to get busy with transforming all this, obviously non-productive paradigm stuff we be involved with, and introduce the new one, the spirit first one that we all want in the first place. Every religion wants some love, peace, happiness, money. Everybody want that. You feel me? So yeah, that's what's hit me on right now. Just making it plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my feedback before I get an attitude and get all turned up.
Go ahead and get an attitude, man. Fuck it. Go ahead and get an attitude. Akil gonna piss me off in a minute. Go ahead, Akil.
I'm sure I am. No, man, my whole tip been on just like being present in the moment, bro. Like staying focused on what I'm being told by some of the wisest people that we have in our circles, which is to be still, observe, you know what I'm saying? Don't run out here and make like grand declarations or, you know what I'm saying? Be still. Put your money into urban farming, into the community, into altruism. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that you're getting with the people that you love, staying close to the people that you love, doing self-work, taking care of yourself. That's been my tip during these times. The riots and all that stuff, or the protesting, because, you know, I got different opinions on what's going on right now with the stuff that I'm seeing and the feedback that I'm hearing from people that's on the front lines seeing what's going down. So the protesting and the rioting, you know, I can't really control that because I'm not contributing to that, just giving my opinion through, I guess, social media. I'm not actually physically on the front lines protesting or rioting or anything like that. But for what's, you know what I'm saying, important to me, it is self-maintaining, staying focused, trying to get my, as my man Dom say, my food sovereignty on. And, you know what I'm saying, learn how to get my hands dirty like our parents did, our grandparents did. Because that's the time we in, bro. We got to get this shit out the mud for real, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
All right, we about a minute or two out. We 11:14. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our guest. Travis, you with us, baby?
He probably got his phone muted.
There you go.
He's got to unmute his phone.
Travis, you ready?
You got to unmute your phone, Travis.
You guys all right?
Yes, sir.
Travis. And
Good to be amongst you, kings and God.
Oh man, I'm sorry for being over, bro. I want to. I think it's dope too, because Travis we talking about being out in the field. We're talking about being on the front lines, right? I think Travis is on another. Is on the front lines in a different perspective. You know what I mean? In a moment, because it looks like you out in the garden right now, bro. Travis, you out in the garden, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost you. I had a call come in.
Okay, all good, bro. I was just saying, like, a kid was speaking to being on the front lines, and it looks like you on the front lines in a different perspective because you out in the garden right now.
Absolutely. Yes.
Big Trav, give us a little background on yourself, and then maybe speak to Green Thumbs Consulting for us.
Okay, well, my name is Travis Peters, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, 1971, product of DPS schools. Wanted to leave the atmosphere and the environment here in Detroit, see the world. I joined the military for college money and just the traveling experience and the to get the expertise of whatever field I was going in to enhance my career. And also I joined the Army to somewhat get a pass on my black skin, somewhat portal, or to alleviate me from being racially profiled. I figure being a Army veteran or a veteran period, having served in my country, that would be my so-called pass, you know what I'm saying, against the various things that we see that's going on in our climate today regarding racial diversity and ethnic diversity and things like that. So after the military, I fought in the war, Desert Storm, made it home from that, had issues dealing with that. It's very hard when I got home to tie those disabilities into compensation or to get proper therapy. Due to my age, you're young, they consider nothing is wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? So I, during my time in the military, I was assaulted. I'm going to spare the details because of the time, but I just want to say that my experience was.
Please get the details.
Say that again.
I said, please get some details.
Okay,
some
well,
people don't got a clue. Some people, living behind.
Well, in the military, I went in 89 to 93. During this incident that happened to me, it was a police brutality incident against myself and another Army soldier named Ernest Marshall. He was from Mississippi, and he came to my aid. When you're in the military during my time, you're often relieve yourself after service, duty, or mission. You go to the local NCO club that's on your post or your base. That NCO club is the non-commissioned officers club. That's for the enlisted members from E1 private all the way up to E9. Those are first sergeant, master sergeants, and command sergeant majors. From the bottom to the top, you all can go into this particular environment and fraternize, pardon me with that word. You can mingle together. So the way the structure of the NCO club is, after you get off work, after 5 o'clock, the NCO club is open and it caters to Western and country music, Western music for a certain period of time. So we pretty much know the demographic who listens to country and Western music in more of a greater proportion. That's our white brothers and sisters. So after country music is played, the NCO club music is changed over to R&B hip hop, which predominantly is attended by your black soldiers and those of the Latino descent, so to speak. Y'all get the gist, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's the environment. So on this particular day, it was New Year's Eve, 1992, going into the New Year 93. I'm waiting outside like you habitually do, waiting on country and Western music to let out, go in and listen to the music that I like to listen to, and forget about all of my missions and duties and troubles of the day that I experience and somewhat diffuse and let the air out my system. On this particular day, the music changing over, some of the white soldiers were upset because they felt that they wouldn't be able to bring in the new year as they wanted to. They took out their aggression on me standing outside. They were drunk from already partying and whatnot. They took out their aggression on me. I didn't know that they were not undercover. They were MPs who were in their civilian clothes or their civilian getup. MPs were called because it began to get out of hand. I had about 3 white soldiers that were pretty much on my head. MPs were called. These MPs that were called, they worked with these MPs. So they sided with them. It got out of hand. And it got out of hand where hands were being put on me illegally in a manner that shouldn't be. And I began to defend myself. And in doing so, I was dragged behind a building, and I had another soldier in my unit who came to my aid. If he had not come to my aid, just as those that stood by and yelled things for the officers to stop, and George Floyd met his demise, that would have happened to me. Everything that George Floyd uttered, calling out to his mother, saying he was about to die, I experienced that. I know what it's like being dragged to your execution or your lynching. I know the hands-on anger and hate that you're being subjected to, because you're subjectively going to be killed. So that happened to me, and I carried that, and it affected me on my jobs when I got back to Detroit, dealing with white men in authority positions, especially that came with that energy or that wrong vibrancy or that wrong vibration, if you all understand what I'm saying. Y'all please interject, because I feel like I'm rambling on, okay?
Oh,
No,
no,
Please
you're
interject.
not rambling.
But I do
Okay.
I do have a thought. When you speak of this, in 2005, it was a sister who was murdered, a soldier, right? Are you familiar with that story? There was a sister murdered in 2005.
I can't hear you.
In 2005, it was a sister who was murdered, who was a soldier. Are you familiar with that story?
It was a sister whom?
She was a soldier. She was a soldier, and she was murdered. And
Oh yeah. Her murder was covered up overseas. Is that what you're speaking to?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, man. And I'm just curious, bro. Like, you know, hearing you speak about it, it's very familiar to her story. You know, she was raped. They poured corrosive ash on her genitalia to cover the rape. She was found with a black eye, and several other wounds. And ultimately, man, they ruled her death as a suicide.
Yeah.
And I'm just asking, like, because as you're talking, it's crazy because my grandfather had PTSD from being, he was in the military.
PTSD. No, I said PTSD.
And he had it from his comrades. Which, you know, like he got it's an episode of Boondocks where they're showing like how in the 1930s and 40s black men were basically beat up and harassed by their own comrades. And I'm just wondering, we kind of forget how long this has been going on and how much it impacts the soldiers, not necessarily even the war itself, but having those racial incidents on your base or whatever, man.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that going on. You guys got to remember too, a lot of these military bases are in the South. A lot of these, when you go off post, you still have to understand the black codes, or sundown towns is what they call. I was the driver for my commander, so I used to pick up Marines, sailors, and soldiers from various institutions and take them to the bridge. So one incident, I had to leave Fort Stewart, Georgia, go up to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And they told me to make sure I had on my military uniform as I was going through Missouri. That's quote unquote Klan country. Me in civilian get up as a young black man, aged 19, 20 years old, riding through Missouri in a military vehicle, that's not going to go well. So I had to don my uniform to keep myself as somewhat a pass. You know, that was my badge of passage. But, you know, so my first real bout with racism, other than what we read about growing up here in Detroit, was hands-on when I got in the military. So that made it difficult for me to serve this country, knowing that the people I served with had a hate and an anger and a terroristic mindset because of the color of my skin, that they were willing to kill me, regardless of my pedigree and my exceptional military record, you know?
Man, how much longer did you have to serve after that incident?
So that incident happened in, say, January 1, 1993. I decided to leave the military, and I got out in October of 93. Okay. When I made that decision to leave the military, it extended me to an extra 6 months in Korea. So I had to continually serve with these people. And after this incident happened, it was swept under the rug. I had sworn witnesses. I was totally innocent. It was swept under the rug. No one lost a reduction of rank. I never received disciplinary action. And we were made and ordered not to speak about this incident as long as we remain on post at Camp Carroll, Korea, in Wagon, Korea. So that's near the south of Korea, small town. But let me just hit you with this. This was on the heels of the Rodney King incident. So I wasn't even stateside during Rodney King. When Rodney King incident happened, I was in the Middle East finishing up with Operation Desert Comfort. Then I came home, and then I was shipped off. I came up on orders to Korea. Korea is a one-year tour. So when I went to Korea, now after this Rodney King incident, I'm in Korea in 92 and 93. Now you remember there was a lot of civil unrest between Korean merchants and the black people that lived in LA. You all remember that?
Yes, sir.
So when I was in Korea, the Korean merchants, when we went to what's called the Ville, they used to tell us one black GIN at one time. Now I did use that, and I apologize for that. Now that was very, that was a labeling thing. I spoke in the mannerism of how Koreans spoke to us. But I'm sorry, in an English tone, the Korean merchants used to tell us only one black GI in their stores at one time. So imagine that. I'm one amongst 30,000. The black soldiers that are amongst the 30,000 that are there to protect the people of South Korea on that peninsula are subjugated to be only allowed to come in their stores and spend our good American dollars one person at a time. You see, these things add to the racism or the trauma that black people go through that folks don't want to talk about. So let me hit you with this. I got out the Army. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, do you ever question that time in the military? Do you ever think like as a black man that wasn't the right decision? Because I've always been like skeptical. You said what now? Absolutely. I think about that after. Remember, I didn't go in for the gun-toting thing. Yeah.
I didn't go in for that, for the war. I didn't go in for war. I went in for travel experience and education money to get, I went in for that program. So, yes, that does. I often ask that question, man, if I could do that again, but hey, we can't turn back the hands of time. We can only move in the moment and go forward. So that's what I'm doing.
And
when I got out the military, I'm in my 22. I'm age 22, 23. Simple traffic stops would go ballistic with me. I would get into jostlings with the police because I would automatically go into a terror frenzy. It would be amazed that one time I was hogtied on 94. You guys can ask your brother Ron Kelly about this. You can ask him. He was with me during that incident. Just ask him, hey, what happened to Travis? The incident with the state police on 94 back in the 90s. He can give you some detail. But in that incident, I ended up being hogtied and tossed in the back seat of a police cruiser on my stomach. So I was really terrified then, So, but George Floyd's incident, it really brought back haunting memories that I still suffer with because of how he was expired and the words that he stated, because I stated those exact words. I know what it's like when your life is being suffocated out of you. I know that feeling firsthand. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yo,
and if we want to, go ahead.
That just brought to mind what Will Smith said some years ago about it's always been here. It's just getting televised. You know what I'm saying? George Floyd, people looking at it like it's on brand new. That shit happened left and right all the time. This just got put on the big screen.
Awesome. What you bring up a very great point. If we had televisions and social media apparatuses like we do now, what we see now is nothing compared to back in the 1860s. Do you all know that after 1865, there was a so-called second Civil War, started around 1868 in this country? Are you all familiar with that?
Go into it, big bro.
Well,
I remember. You know the details. Shoot.
Well, you had 1865. The Civil War ends. Black people are now emancipated. Remember now, Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator, he said that he is for slavery. Let me repeat that. Abraham Lincoln said, I am for slavery if it shall preserve the Union. He also said, I am for anti-slavery if it shall preserve the Union. Abraham Lincoln cared nothing about black people at all, about your freedom. He only cared about the preservation of the Union and its capitalistic ventures and the further advancement of the federal imperialistic republic of this new nation. That's it. That's it. You can read it and find out for yourself. So during Reconstruction, you had members of the Senate. We need to look these people up, these radical Republicans named Thaddeus Stevens and Charles Sumner. These were senators and congressmen from Massachusetts and Pennsylvania who helped really fight for free enterprise, the property rights, and the personal rights of black men, free black men and black peoples in this country. They were named carpetbaggers and scalawags because they would go to the South and educate black people. They would teach them how to write and read, which was very, very, very important. And they would educate us on legislative positions and things like that. During the time of Reconstruction, you had over 200 black people, black men, that were elected to hold positions of legislation, meaning that they could write laws that help prosper black people. Well, the second Civil War started around 1868, and these were white armed men who would go and terrorize black people. And they were to preserve the Confederacy. They wanted to preserve the original Constitution. They weren't for this 14th Amendment and things like that. They weren't for that and the 13th Amendments and things like that coming about. Pardon me. So,
and Trav, just for the people, the 13th and 14th, real quick, Trav, I just want to say the 13th and 14th Amendment are the ones that basically freed black people, so to speak. You know?
It gave us a right to acknowledge, a right to adopt the Bill of Rights as our Bill of Rights too.
Right.
That's what it did. It allowed us to, when it says we hold these truths that all men are created equal, that the 13th Amendment allowed us to be able to not only say that but walk in that. Now remember, during Reconstruction, you're not just going to walk into people's environment and culture and change it. They had the Army come in to help assist with this. During this time, you had what's called black codes, because states' laws allow them to regulate things. And we're seeing that happen now. States are allowed to govern themselves. There are state constitutions where a lot of states, let's come up to the 20th century with George Wallace, former Alabama governor who ran against Nixon in the late '68 election, I believe, right around that time. George Wallace, they instituted black codes where they don't give a damn what the government said. Come down here in these parts and you subjugated to being hung. Hanging went on for 100 years, the 1860s, Jim Crow, through 1960 was the last lynching, the so-called lynching. You know what I mean? By hanging.
And Trav, I was gonna say too, like Trump is nothing new for this country.
Not at all.
He's a reincarnation of a George Wallace, who was a outwardly spoken white supremacist, publicly official. You know what I mean? And to say that, like,
Donald Trump,
don't go for it.
No, Trump, not cutting you off, but we're misconstrued. Trump ain't got nothing on Woodrow Wilson, Andrew Johnson, and Andrew Jackson, and like George Wallace, the governor, who was a governor running for president. Trump don't have nothing on them, especially Woodrow Wilson. Oh, he was heinous. Woodrow Wilson was the worst. Woodrow Wilson, he segregated the federal government. When black people had positions of, I'm talking about positions we could ascertain to attorney general, postmaster general, congressmen, state senators, things like that. The Woodrow Wilson administration ousted black people from the federal government and made it where we can only hold positions of servitude, such as butlers and maids and things like that, and landscapers. Oh yeah, that was Woodrow Wilson's doing.
All right, so not to switch gears, because I could talk about this all daggone day.
Yes.
But why don't you touch upon what you do with Green Thumbs Consulting within the city and the different things that you do within the city?
Okay. Well, Green Thumbs Consulting, right there. That's planting the seeds of today's dreams to reap the harvest of tomorrow's success. I started Green Thumbs, considering myself being a planter. Plant a seed, someone else will water the seed, and the universe or our creator or God will give the increase. You know what I'm saying? When we plant a seed and water it, we don't know what the earth is doing. That's up to God and the universe to determine what's going on underground for us to see what comes up. So that's where I get that mantra. I started Green Thumbs Consulting because my military the disabilities I endured and experiences during my time of service began to alleviate me from performing my daily duties and having a sustainable livelihood. So there are many programs in place for veterans that there are no advertising dollars set aside to let you know. There was no one telling me, Specialist Peters, as soon as you ETS, go here or there for counseling, for therapy, for benefits, for compensation, to help you and help sustain you. So I found out the many different avenues and programs to help vets. So I began to be my own somewhat Pied Piper or Paul Revere, going out finding veterans, because I know where the veterans go because I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran that's been homeless. I know where you go to find peace of mind. See, the thing about a military veteran, long as we find proper shelter, not getting wet or cold, we're good. We can live in the car, under a viaduct, in a tent, it don't matter. You feel what I'm saying? In a cardboard box, because we've lived in very, very harsh situations and had to survive. So that's easy. Living in the car is easy for a vet, especially, for me. So that's one of the reasons I started Green Thumbs Consulting, to help veterans improve their quality of life, letting them know that, hey, man, your military service and experiences may allow you to be compensated, which in turn we know if you have steady income, you can maneuver, you can receive resources and things like that. It makes you it puts you in a more applicable state to be able to function properly. You know, as we know what it is to be without and how hard it is. Having a soup kitchen or a bread line type of lifestyle or a handout type of lifestyle. So that was the thing. one of the things that drove me to that. Having a knowledge in home building and reconstruction, that was easy to go find veterans that had a what's called a AIT, your Advanced Individual Training. A lot of military veterans go to school for carpentry. They go to school for electrical engineering or cable wiring or telephone service. Pretty much every job that's out here, there's this compatible or comparable job in the military that does that. So that's pretty much what Green Thumbs Consulting is about, helping veterans reinstate and reinvigorate themselves and reacclimate themselves into a sustainable part of today's society, not being outcast.
Dope. That's very important because a lot of veterans are overlooked. A lot of times we have men and women that went and defended this country and come back here and there is nothing for them. Like that shouldn't be. There should be some set aside housing jobs that are in place.
Yes.
So as soon as you touch back into the country, you going right into whatever field you might have been training for while you were wherever you were stationed.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Now remember,
so you do.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you're doing the yeoman's work, big bro.
I appreciate it. So the gardening, that aspect is to be a producer of goods and foods, and not only produce goods, but take them to market and distribute and deliver and give back to the veterans. So our program now, we give 20 free meal boxes, somewhat such as this one here. This is a sample, but we give 20 free boxes to our military veterans and to our elders each per month during our growing season in the city of Detroit. So after I finish this, I'm just acclimating myself so I can master my business. This position will be available for a military veteran paying between $16 and $20 an hour, working 24 hours a week. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh.
So that's what this is about. Being able to many veterans cannot work traditional jobs due to their military experiences. We have to create ways, not just for our veterans, but for our population, our workforce population, who may have been traumatized by the systemic racism in this system. The system is not designed for, you can keep your equality, I'm gonna say that. Give me equity. And that's what the Freedmen's Bureau and Thaddeus Stevens and Charles Sumner and those Reconstruction electors who had real voices. They were really for the advancement of us to be able to live free and be able to capitalize and have free enterprise and have the same amount of equity. Remember, we all have equality in education. We can equally go to schools, but do our schools have the same equity in books? Are our textbooks of the same newness? Are they of the same? Are our classrooms of the same equity? Y'all get the gist of what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is the housing provided for us in the same amount of equity? No, it's not. No, it's not. So Green Thumbs Consulting speaks to that, providing equity, proper equity for our military veterans, and spilling over into the community for our regular citizens as well, you know. And before we leave, man, I really wanted to see if I could speak on this current situation, if possible, and things and suggestions on what we need to do to try to bring about change.
I was just about to speak about that. Isaac popped off, but he wanted to talk about solutions in particular, and I wanted to speak more to kind of what you spoke to me about the other day, where you were talking along the lines of just the whole situation itself. And like you said, you had the opportunity to speak with a minister. I got the week.
Oh yeah.
This mic in this room. But give me your thoughts on the situation, like you were saying, the solutions that you talked to.
So I'm gonna go back in history, and what we need to do. We need radical legislation. We had to have the military come in during a peaceful time to help support the Freedmen's Bureaus Act. We were considered refugees on abandoned lands back then. And in order for us to establish ourselves, we needed those type of legislative bodies in place. Today, if we are to exact change, now we got to remember, let me go back here. So remember I said we had over 200 black men that were elected to Congress to be able to write laws to help our advancement. During this time, you had angry pockets of white men considered themselves patriots to the Confederacy and to the original Constitution. They actually went to the convention in New Orleans, the Republican convention in New Orleans, and killed 40 people. See, now imagine that now. You can look this up.
Whoa.
Republican convention back in the 1800s in New Orleans. We considered ourselves to be aligned with the Republican Party and other parties that furthered our advancement. Okay, it wasn't only the Republican Party. That just happened to be the largest conglomerate, which could in a more expeditious type of fashion execute those laws to get us to our proper place in our elevated equity. You feel me? Being free peoples. Pockets of white people came after that in a violent fashion to the fact where they went to a Republican convention where black people and nominees were being, you know what conventions do, where they bring about their electors to assume offices or to assume positions to be able to be voted upon during the upcoming elections. These white people went in and killed 40 people. They assassinated them. You don't hear about, have you all heard about that in your textbooks?
Nope.
I'm familiar with that one, bro.
Nope.
Do we hear about that during the upcoming elections?
Nah, bro.
That's the first time I've ever heard that story.
You guys, please look this up so you can hold my feet to the fire of truth about this. So what I'm getting at is that you're going to have to take the white people in this society who are born into the privilege, okay, to be radical, to go against those pockets who are willing to die and cause war, wreak havoc. You feel me? That's what you need to exact change. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have that type of ASA, as you said, energy. All this burning down and looting, that's a distraction, y'all. That's a distraction. That has nothing to do with George Floyd or the advancement of black people.
I wouldn't say it's a distraction, man. I would say that there's people acting out, that using their energy to act out as best they know. Like people, I said this before, and some people don't agree. You need strong leadership in these cases, man. These people are young and they have I've been young and full of rage, right? I've been a person who's learning about what's going on in the world and pent up. I won't say it's a distraction. I would say that it's being used to benefit others and not the actual cause itself. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm speaking to.
Yeah.
Booze. I'm speaking to that anger is being distracted into something else instead of channeled into the proper vein.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The proper arteries where it should be flowing through.
Right.
That's what I'm speaking of. We need to get on one accord with that and be on a united front. Burning down nothing does nothing for our community. It does nothing for self.
At all. Sets us back.
It does.
Just sets us
Very
back.
much so.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
So hold up.
Go for it.
I know I'm kind of shooting all the questions off, but Booze, you normally do that every episode anyway. So shut up over there. Big bro, this is something I've been reading on recently, and you, like we said, you on the front lines, and you actually have military background, so you can speak to post-traumatic stress disorder through the military. But also, what are you seeing in the city with like the effects of how police brutality plays on young people's minds, or the conditions that we've been placed in this country? Like what telltale signs are you seeing of post-traumatic stress disorder within the city?
Well, for one, I would say that I gotta say this. Detroit, under this our current chief James Craig, we don't have that climate. You know, we don't have that. We really don't.
Mm-hmm.
Let me hit you. Let me go here, and I'll come right back to your point. There are pretty much 5 elements in policing. We see 3 of those components every day, all day, every day. They're broadcast to us. We see the prevention of crime. We see the apprehension of offenders and the enforcement of the law. Very, very rarely do we see a police organization that encompasses the preservation of peace aspect of policing and the community policing aspect of policing. That part, the community part. When police agencies lack those last 2 parts, the only experience that people get are when the police are responding to a violent crime or some type of tumultuous event. And the only time that the people in the city see the police is when they're coming to them, coming to get their brother, their cousin, their uncle, or said person is the recipient of brutality. So there be in lies of fear, or trauma, that avoidance. We already know how when we drive, if it's more than 2 of us in the car, you can't rock your baseball cap. You see what I'm saying? Hypervigilance sets in. Oh man, damn, my tail light busted. Oh shoot, I gotta try to walk outside in the rain without an umbrella and hope I don't get wet. And that's just the analogy saying, I hope I roll and don't get pulled over, because this tail light being busted out can lead to something else. Or not even the tail light being busted, but the mere fact that my blinker may have went out. You feel me? And then we don't know the laws. We don't know the laws of you can't do a search without probable cause and suspicion beyond a reasonable pat down. We don't know that. You don't have to leave and get out of your car. You don't. But the police agencies have to be willing to accept your knowledge of the laws of the land, the policing laws. You feel me? So yes, our youth are very traumatized because of the nature of policing. Police, they can do things and get and be reassigned. They can commit violent acts against you and not be persecuted to the extreme measures of the law, as you and I would be. So yes, it's very traumatizing. We need things, those visuals of Detroit police officers kneeling with other citizens in the community. You need more visuals of that. You need more actual, you need more hugs. Remember, I created a program called Project Peace Pillars. I'm not trying to advertise that program.
No, advertise it.
But this program, I was awarded $19,000 in Trek bikes and helmets and shirts for military veterans to ride with the Detroit Police Department's bike patrol to give a visible presence of public servitude to allow the police to come into the community in a peaceful manner. It sparked conversation. Remember, you got police and veterans riding through on bikes. that makes them approachable. We had children riding up and asking if they can roll with us, and they did. I couldn't get enough veterans to come participate. Yes, $700 bikes, $20,000 worth of $700 bikes that all veterans had to do was come to where we were going to ride for a couple hours through the neighborhood. This program allowed for therapy, not only exercise for veterans and the police officers in the community, but it allowed for therapy for veterans that went through experiences where they couldn't function in the same room with police for fear of their traumas. You feel me? This bike program, imagine 4 veterans and 4 police officers rolling through on bicycles. Are you going to dump out your Wendy's or Coney Island trash in with us present? No. Nope. Are you going to dump your tires or your trash? No. No. It's a visible presence of public servitude. It's community policing, the preservation of police type of policing. Those are the things we need to. Can't come into the hood with your gun out and your batons ready to crack heads. Can't do that.
Yep. So, Big Booze, what you got, bro?
Nothing, man. We at that point we normally start wrapping up. I definitely want to thank you, Travis, because I feel like this is some invaluable information, man.
Man, what?
And your perspective, brother, is like 100% what we were talking about the other day. Is like from the military, being trained, seeing the racism. It's such a good vantage point on what's going on inside of this world, and your general knowledge of history and how things repeat themselves and how none of this is new. So I gotta appreciate you, big brother, for one serving our country, but then also, man, serving your community and just being an exemplary role model for ex-vets and well, not even ex, for vets and for people in our community in general, man. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that, bro.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the accolades humbly. I really do. I love to serve. It makes me feel good. You know what I'm saying? I love that. I love it. I love to serve. I always have. And let me leave y'all with these parting words. In order to keep a people from going forward and realizing what their future is, you erase or eradicate their history. Yep. And that's what's being done. And you culturally assimilate them to adopt the majority culture. You know what I'm saying? Our folklores are gone. They're diminishing. We got to get that back right. But please, our people, we must look back at Reconstruction and see what type of, as Brother Asa, King Asa just stated earlier, what type of vibe, the energy that it took to get us to be considered to even live free and to be able to freely enterprise just as everyone else. I just want equity. Keep your equality. Make it equitable for me.
Yeah.
Love.
Give me my $14 trillion in reparations.
Yes, sir.
You get it. You get it. You get it.
Yeah, man. Give me my 14 trillion. Right. But that's it for us. We normally do
big love, big bro.
Big love to y'all. Keep being kings and gods as you all are, and keep bringing this voice out to the community, because we need a voice. We need a platform where voices can be heard, where our voices and our histories and truths can be exact to better us.
Yes, sir. All right, big bro. We're going to talk to you in a minute.
Peace.
Peace.
All right.